yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Ashtotara Shata Shishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Samstapakacharya His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So this morning we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6, Text 11 and 12. Usually, when you have two texts, the first text usually does not have a purport, but somehow this time it's reversed. Yeah. And 11 has a wonderful purport, but 12 does not have a purport, but we're going to read the text on the board from 12. I mean, probably it was an error. Anyway. First, let me read text 11 because it's not on the board. I'll just read it along with the word-to-word meanings, translation, purport. Then we'll read text 12. Text 11. Avyakta-rasa-sindhūnāṁ bhūtānām nidhanasya ca udaram viditam puṁso hṛdayam manasaḥ padam. Avyakta, the impersonal feature. Rasa-sindhūnāṁ, of the seas and oceans of water. Bhūtānām, of those who take birth in the material world. Nidhanasya, of the annihilation. Cha, also. udaram, his belly, viditam, is known by the intelligent class of men, puṁsaḥ, of the great personality, hṛdayam, the heart, manasaḥ, of the subtle body, padam, the place. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The impersonal feature of the Lord is the abode of great oceans, and His belly is the resting place for the materially annihilated living entities. His heart is the abode of the subtle material bodies of living beings. Thus it is known by the intelligent class of men. Purport. In the Bhagavad-gītā 8, chapter 8, text 17 and 18, it is stated that according to human calculations, one day of Brahmā is equal to 1,000 ages of 4 millenniums, which is 4,300,000 years each, and the same period is calculated to be his night also. A Brahmā lives for 100 such years and then dies. A Brahmā, who is generally a great devotee of the Lord, attains liberation after such a downfall. The universe, called the brahmāṇḍa, or the round football-like domain controlled by a Brahmā, is thus annihilated, and thus the inhabitants of a particular planet or of the whole universe are also annihilated. Avyakta mentioned here in this verse means the night of Brahmā, where partial annihilation takes place and the living entities of that particular brahmāṇḍa up to the planets of Brahmaloka, along with the big oceans, etc., all repose in the belly of the virāṭ-puruṣa. At the end of Brahma's night, the creation again takes place, and the living entities reserved within the belly of the Lord are let loose to play their respective parts as if being awakened from a deep slumber. Since the living entities are never destroyed, the annihilation of the material world does not annihilate the existence of the living entities. But until liberation is attained, one has to accept one material body after another again and again. The human life is meant for making a solution to this repeated change of bodies, and thereby attaining a place in the space of the sky where everything is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. In other words, the subtle forms of the living entities take place in the heart of the Supreme Being, and such forms take tangible shape at the time of creation. Okay, text 12. Dharmasya mama tubhyam cha kumaranam bhavasya cha vijnanasya cha sattvasya parasyatma parayanam dharmasya mama tubhyam cha kumaranam bhavasya cha vijnanasya cha sattvasya parasyatma parayanam dharmasya mama tubhyam cha kumaranam bhavasya cha vijnanasya cha sattvasya parasyatma parayanam dharmasya mama tubhyam cha kumaranam bhavasya cha vijnanasya cha sattvasya parasyatma parayanam dharmasya, of religious principles, or of Yamaraja, mama, mine, tubhyam, of yours, cha, and kumaranam, of the 4 Kumaras, Bhavasya, Lord Shiva, cha, and also Vijnanasya, of transcendental knowledge, cha, also Sattvasya, of truth, Parasya, of the great personality, Atma, consciousness, Parayanam, dependent. Translation. Also, the consciousness of that great personality is the abode of religious principles, mine, yours, and those of the 4 bachelors, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanatkumara, and Sanandana. That consciousness is also the abode of truth and transcendental knowledge. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Caitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swamaniti Namine Nama Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayine Gaura Katha Dhamadaya Nagra Gramatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Gopi Parana Danadasa Iti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamaniti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sandubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Bande Shri Gurudantharinam Yat Kripatamaham Bande Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Katanchana Smrite Yasmin Dushkaram Sukaram Bhavet Vismrite Viparitam Syat Shri Chaitanyam Namamitam. So, in the first canto, there is a brief, very brief description of the different incarnations of the Lord, and it is mentioned how the incarnations of the Lord are like the waves of an ocean. There are unlimited incarnations of the Lord. Either they are plenary incarnations, which means plenary portions, which means equivalent to the Lord, or they could be portions of the plenary portions, or they could be empowered incarnations. Now, in the second canto, there is this elaborate description of this material universe, how this material universe is created by the Supreme Lord. Why is that so? Because that is our point of reference. We are here in this material world. So, in the Bhagavatam, it begins with the descriptions of the Lord. In the first canto, there are many things which are brought up in brief, but the elaborate descriptions begin with the second canto. And here, it starts with Krishna's creation of the material world, because that's where we are. That's our coordinates. So, and then later on we'll see that other Leela avatars are described after this in the further chapters. Finally, coming up to Krishna's avatar, Krishna himself, who is the avatari, and you find the full description of God. So, Srimad Bhagavatam has the highest levels of Krishna consciousness. It deals with all levels of Krishna consciousness, but everybody does not have access to that, to every level of Krishna consciousness. Only the followers of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu have full access to the highest levels of Krishna consciousness. Now, when you say highest level, that also is not static. That also is ever expanding. But the followers of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu have full access to the highest levels of Krishna consciousness that the Bhagavatam offers. Now, if we actually look at this whole description of this, how this material world is created, and what is our place in this material world, it's completely mind-boggling. The extent of the universe, the duration, the expanse of the universe, the duration of Lord Brahma's life, and the creation of the living entities. It is, in fact, you can't find this kind of a fascinating description anywhere. Even if it's fiction, it cannot match the kind of intricacy and detail there is in this creation. But this is science. This is science. This is not fiction. And of course, no human being can comprehend it. And neither is it necessary to comprehend it. It is the Lord's creation. So Prabhupada makes this point in the purport. He says that human life, he speaks about how this whole creation takes place, and he's elaborating on the Bhagavatam, but he keeps our focus on the main point, which is the human life is meant for making a solution to this repeated change of bodies, and thereby attaining a place in the spiritual sky where everything is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. So, what we need to understand is that our identity is eternal, and that functions fully in the spiritual world. In the material world, we say this is our body. This is also wrong. This is also wrong. This is actually Krishna's body. Krishna, in fact, here in this purport, it says that, in other words, the subtle forms of the living entities take place in the heart of the Supreme Being, and such forms take tangible shape at the time of creation. Which means that, of course, the gross body is shaped according to the subtle body, but even this body belongs to the Supreme Lord entirely. Entirely. So we have been given a rental. This is Krishna's condo, or whatever you could call it. So we are given an opportunity, it's not opportunity, it's engagement in this. But even in that engagement, there is opportunity. That is called the kindness of Krishna. And the greatest kindness of Krishna was manifested when Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu appeared 500 years ago. Krishna manifests kindness, always is very kind. But the limit of his kindness, there's nothing called limit, but the highest degree of his kindness has been manifested by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Why is that so? Because Caitanya Mahaprabhu has given anybody, whether they're qualified, not qualified, doesn't matter. He has given them access to the highest levels of Krishna consciousness. Now, if you actually look at what is going on, so in the Bhagavatam, we have this beautiful verse, Samashrita ye pada pallava padam, mahat padam punya yasho murare, bhavam budir vatsa padam param padam, padam padam yat vipadam natesham. Which means that the material world is like an ocean. When we read this description of the universe, then we see we are so tiny, And this universe is massive, massive, unimaginably massive. Like Kupa Manduka Prabhupada used to say, how much can we even estimate the extent of this universe? We cannot even estimate the extent of this universe. It is that massive. But such a massive material world or material ocean, which is difficult to cross, even an ordinary ocean is difficult to cross. It's not what to speak of this ocean of material existence. Impossible. Impossible multiplied by 1 billion times or 1 trillion times, whatever. Impossible to cross. But even such a difficult situation, it says that Mahat padam punya yasho murare. When we take shelter of the lotus feet of Murari, the killer of the Mura demon, and the lotus feet of his associates, such a massive ocean suddenly reduces to the size of a calf's hoof print. Now, those of you who have actually noticed it may have seen it. Calf's hoof print is very small. And for us to cross the calf's hoof print, we don't even have to think about it. This is what is the fortune that has been brought to us by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. We don't even have to think how complex this material world is. He has made it that easy. If there is a greater fortune for the living entities, it cannot be greater than this. And He has even given us this promise. If we follow the 4 regulative principles, chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra attentively, and constantly take shelter of the Krishna consciousness movement, of the practices of Krishna consciousness, then one lifetime we can all go back to Godhead. Of course, we may think, ultimately the goal is not to go back to Godhead, but to serve the Lord life after life. That's fine, but Prabhupada actually emphasized going back to Godhead, because quite often, unless we are actually situated on the platform of liberation, we may find the material world attractive. So when we say, if we are not liberated, and if we try to say, oh, going back to God, that's not the real thing, let's just think about serving Lord life after life, it could probably mean we are attached to this material world, and we're using that as an opportunity to say, let us be in this material world life after life, serving Prabhupada. That comes only after we are properly situated. Therefore, Prabhupada repeatedly, over and over and over again, he repeated this point, that the goal of life is to go back to Godhead. Let's get that clear in our minds. Let's leave this material world, this miserable material world. Let's not have even an inch, a drop of fascination for anything in this material world. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his prayers, Manasa Deho Geho Jokichu More, he says, Ali, whatever I have, this is the stage of realization. It's not even mine. Like I was talking, it's not even our body. It's not, whatever I have, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, is not mine. It is yours, so I want to offer it to you. Then he says, whether you keep me or whether you kill me, you're autocratic. You're completely independent. You may do as you wish with me. Then he says, let me not be born even as a Brahmā, but let me never lose the association of devotees. Let me be born even as an insect in the house of your pure devotees. So this is the mood of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So this is the very exalted state of consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada, if we actually notice, there is no place anywhere in his books, conversations, nowhere he gives an opportunity for us even for one drop of sense gratification. It's Krishna conscious, fine, have prasadam. Whatever is within Krishna consciousness, okay. One drop out of it, no. No, 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 that's it. So this is Prabhupada's mood, that we have to be fully serious in Krishna consciousness. Now one may think all this looks very difficult, On a day-to-day basis, can we live like this? Can we live like this on a day-to-day basis? But what we have been given, the holy names of Krishna, if we can just hear the holy names while chanting, it is an ocean of nectar. And it's not only for the transcendentalists. To everybody, Prabhupada says, Krishna is directly available in his holy names. And we can see this tangibly. The moment we try to hear the holy names attentively, there is a flood. The dam breaks open. There's a flood of ecstasy which floods the heart. It's science. Prabhupada said Krishna consciousness is a science. How is that possible? If the holy name is not Krishna, where is the ecstasy coming from? So Prabhupada would always say, you can chant Coca-Cola or something else, but you won't feel that ecstasy. So Krishna is there. So just by trying to sincerely hear the holy names, that flood of ecstasy will arise in the heart. Now one may think, okay, but the struggles are also there. Okay, the struggles are always there, until we reach liberation, but even if the struggles are there, Krishna's mercy is always one notch or many notches above our struggle. This is called Krishna consciousness. Not that anything can overwhelm us. There is nothing in this world which can overwhelm us, because Krishna is always one notch or many notches or millions of notches above our levels of struggle. This is the element of surrender. In surrender, there are 6 elements, which is to accept things favorable, to reject things unfavorable, to have firm belief in the protection of the Lord. What does this protection of the Lord mean? Prabhupada explains that does it mean protection of the body alone? It could mean that also. But protection means protection of our consciousness. So we should have that firm faith that Krishna will always protect our consciousness. So this is an element of surrender. To be exclusively dependent on the mercy of the Lord. To have no interest separate from the interest of the Lord, and to always feel meek and humble. To be exclusively dependent on the mercy of the Lord. What does this mean? In the Bhagavatam, in the beginning, we have the Janmadya Asya Yataha verse, right? What does it mean? Normally, the idea is, in scriptural traditions, somebody has greater strength, we may have lesser strength. God has greater strength, we have lesser strength. God has better, we are lesser. But the Bhagavatam brings up this point very clearly. It's not that God has more, we have less. What we have also is God's actually. God is giving us that strength. The only thing that we have is our free will. That's it. All strength, all glory, everything is coming from God. We are made of God's mercy. That's it. Literally, not figuratively. Literally, we are made of God's mercy. And the only thing that we can offer to the Lord is our free will. That's it. Nothing else. So therefore, when it says to feel exclusively dependent on the mercy of the Lord, means to act with that understanding. If I have strength, it is coming from Krishna. Krishna, in a moment, he can withdraw the strength that we have. In a moment, that's it. So, for everything in this material world, we actually depend on the Lord. To realize that means we feel grateful. Oh Krishna, because of you I am able to do so many things. Then one feels very insignificant. My God, Krishna is so kind, Krishna is so merciful. Who am I? Then one feels always meek and humble. So, it is possible for us to always be in Krishna consciousness if we want to be. No matter what our struggles may be, no matter what our difficulties may be, no matter how complex and overwhelming it may seem to us, if we reach out to the Supreme Lord, He will always keep us one notch, many notch, millions of notches above our difficulty. This is a guaranteed fact. This is what Krishna consciousness is all about, what all Krishna are all about. So Lochandas Thakur sings that Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu came to give us a process of Kevala Ananda Kanda. Is it an exaggeration? It cannot be an exaggeration. It cannot be an exaggeration. It's a fact. The words of the sadhus cannot be false. So, are we experiencing that Ananda Kanda? If not, why? If not, why? Because we are living in a state of what do you call it? Oblivion. Not oblivion. What do you call that? We're callous. When there is a calamity, we think of Krishna. When there is no calamity, we are forgetful. We go on with life. So this is the great danger of material life, that we are living in an extremely dangerous place. Every moment there is danger. But when we don't see the danger, we're completely forgetful, we are not properly practicing, we're ignorant. So Haridas Thakur, when he was arrested and put into jail, he saw that the prisoners in jail were chanting very nicely. So then he gives them a blessing. May you always remain here. So they are shocked. May you always remain here? What kind of a blessing is that? So Haridas Thakur is a Vaishnava. He doesn't desire the bad for anyone. So then he explains the mystery of his blessing. He says, in this state, you are always chanting the holy name of the Lord, because you have understood this is a miserable place. That is your good fortune. So you are chanting the holy name always. So may that remain with you always. Even when you leave this prison, may you not be callous to material existence. May you always remember the holy name of the Lord in whatever condition of life you may be. This is our real blessing. The real danger is forgetfulness of Krishna. So we need to pray to Krishna. Krishna, may I always remember you. May I always remember you. Let me get the blessings of Haridas Thakur, the blessings that he offered to the prisoners. Let me get that. Let me beg for that blessing. This is our real treasure. This is our real treasure. So, we have so many ways in which we can be Krishna conscious. So, Prabhupada has created this entire society, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, to make Krishna consciousness a 24-hour festival. Every day, like Prabhupada said, we don't have any New Year. For us, every day is a New Year. Every day is a New Year. So we have a 24-hour non-stop festival every day. Do we see it? No. Why don't we see it? The more we tune into the chanting of the holy names, the more we tune into the Bhagavatam, the more we tune into the devotees, we will have this ecstatic vision. We need to be determined. We need to have that willingness to do it. Even if we don't have the willingness to do it, we can pray to Krishna, Krishna, kindly, please help me. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, you are Hrishikesha. You are the master of the senses. Please, please control my senses. Please help me to control, because Krishna's body. Krishna wants is just instantly he can do it. So please control my senses so that I can constantly engage in your devotional service. So the kind of things that we have, everything in spiritual life is very, very potent. The problem is we don't understand the significance of it. The holy name, Rupa Goswami says, how I wish that I had millions of years, millions of tongues to chant the holy name. We are struggling to finish our 16 rounds. When is the 16 rounds going to finish? I'm not saying we means everybody. I'm saying generally. when are we finishing our 16 rounds? But Rupa Goswami is talking about millions of tongues, millions of years, and all that. So how much potency there is in the holy name. So much potency is there in the holy name. And then what about the Bhagavatam? Bhagavatam also has unlimited potency. Unlimited potency. In fact, there are prayers to the Bhagavatam by Sanatana Goswami. I'll end today's class with those prayers by Sanatana Goswami. Very beautiful prayers. Sarva Shastra Abdi Piyusha Sarva Vedika Satphala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kali Danto Ditaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O nectar churned from the ocean of all the Vedic scriptures. So when you churn the ocean of all the Vedic scriptures, you get the Bhagavatam. You are the most prominent transcendental fruit of the Vedas and are enriched with the jewels of all philosophical conclusions. You grant spiritual vision to all people of the world, and you are the very life air of the Vaishnava devotees. O Lord, you are the sun which has risen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga. Actually, you are Lord Krishna who has returned among us. Paramananda Bhataya Premavarshi Aksharayate Sarvada Sarva Sevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostutme. O Srimad Bhagavatam, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. By your recitation, one attains transcendental bliss, because your syllables shower down pure love of God. The Bhagavatam syllables shower down pure love of God. And notice this, you can be served by everyone, always, for you are the incarnation of Lord Krishna. Madeka bandho mad sangin, mad guru mad mahadhana, mad nishtaraka mad bhagya, mad ananda namostute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, notice this prayer. O my only friend, companion and teacher, O my great wealth and deliverer, O my good fortune and bliss, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Asadu sadhu tadayin atini no chochatakara hana muncha kadachin mam premna hit kantayosfura. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, even if we are unsaintly, it doesn't matter. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O uplifter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Accompanied by pure love of Krishna, please manifest yourself in my heart and throat. What prayers by Sanatana Goswami. Okay, I'll stop for today. Any thoughts, reflections, questions, comments? Yeah. Yes, Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Powerful messages and class. Especially you say, all are depend on Krishna. All. This body, material world, all. But here, automatic come in one question. So material world is inside spiritual world. Only here is like temporary, no? This
Correct, yes.
So I'm year by year chanting, but it's not coming through. What I have to do, maybe have many people same question. What I will do there?
What I will do?
In there.
Spiritual world.
Yeah.
Okay. Krishna is Rasaraj. Okay? So he gets pleasure from his devotees. His devotees, what we will do there, we are supposed to give pleasure to Krishna. Okay? So how can we give pleasure to Krishna? Only by our mood of service. You know? So that's a very precious thing, that even Krishna becomes conquered by it. You know, Krishna, it's like, how do you say, if you have somebody valuable, what do you want to do to them? You want to give them something valuable, right? And the only thing that we have is our mood. That's it. Nothing else we have. Everything else we can offer with a mood. It belongs to Krishna. The only thing exclusively ours is our mood, bhava. That we want to offer to Krishna. We want to please him. We want to please him. We are interested in Krishna's pleasure. For example, the point is that okay, let's take for example. I should not say example. Rather, sometimes devotees think that to go to Radhakund is the thing, right? This is the highest, to go to Radhakund, to rush off to Radhakund. No. For the devotees, the satisfaction of Krishna is more important than their desires. You know, so we may have a desire, I want to go to Radhakund and serve, oh how wonderful, and they're not interested in that. They're interested in doing anything for Krishna's pleasure. For example, Uddhava, you know, Uddhava is you can't even describe his glories. He's a very exalted personality. Krishna, he told him to go to Badrikashram when he was leaving the planet. Now Uddhava could say, oh, Badrikashram, why Badrikashram? Why can't I go to Radhakund? Why can't I go to he's seen the mood of the Vrajavasis, and he knows Vrindavan exists. So obviously, he could have said, why Badrikashram of all places? You know, why can't I go to Vrindavan? He doesn't think like that. He thinks Krishna wants me to go to Vrindavan. Badrikashram, I'll do it. So this is called the pleasure of Krishna. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, while sending his preachers to the West, he told them, please remember that our whole purpose of life is to constantly give forth music at the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Gauranga. Our goal is to just become the dust at the feet of Sri Rupa and Raghunatha. So this is our mood. We want to please. And we don't even know who Rupa Goswami is. Of course, we know by Prabhupada's mercy. We don't know anyone actually. Literally speaking, whom do we know? We don't know anyone. The only person we know is His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and his followers. That's it we know. We don't know anything beyond it. Whatever we know is by the mercy of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And when I say Prabhupada, Prabhupada means Prabhupada's Shakti is manifest through his followers, through his institution, through the deities that he invoked. These are all manifestations. Of course, deities Krishna Shakti, but Prabhupada invoked Krishna. He created new Vrindavan, created new Mayapur. So this is by Prabhupada's pleading. New Vrindavan, new Mayapur, they were all created. But we don't know anyone other than Srila Prabhupada. And if we take shelter at his lotus feet, then everything will happen. Even when we pray to the Goswamis, Echai Gosai Kori Charana Vandan, Jaha Hoite Bignana Shabishta Puran. How do we destroy obstacles? By taking shelter of the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada and his followers and all the previous acharyas. That's what it means. Jaha Hoite Bignana Shabishta Puran. So if we have an obstacle in the practice of Krishna consciousness, we go and pray. We go and pray to the followers of Prabhupada. We go and pray to Prabhupada. We go and pray to the previous acharyas. We go and pray, by your mercy, please. We go and pray to Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. It says, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that even the most difficult things become very simple if one remembers Caitanya Mahaprabhu. If one does not remember him, the most simple thing becomes very complicated. So we have every single resource in our hands. We are fully equipped. There is no shortage. We are fully equipped. Just have to go for it and Krishna will take care of the rest. That is the magic of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada was very fond of using certain choice, like they say Uttama Shloka. So Prabhupada also had this quality of using very, very interesting expressions. He calls Krishna consciousness the great transcendental adventure. So the moment we take shelter of Prabhupada, we are in that great transcendental adventure, the extended pastimes of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement is spreading across the whole world. Yes, Rudy. Rameshwar Prabhu.
Thank you very much. Your class was very deep, especially when you started by describing how mind-boggling everything is in our universe. That's to consider it, it's beyond our capacity, actually. So I was thinking, for years I've been trying to think, and what is described in this text 11. Why every 4,320,000,000 of our years, every cycle of that, why are all the material bodies of everyone just annihilated? What is the purpose of this partial annihilation every night of Lord Brahmā? Day after day of Lord Brahmā, month after month. I mean, there's so many partial annihilations where we're literally like in suspended animation. There's no thoughts. We're not active. So the only thing I could think of is, from my human perspective, and I know this is going to sound like frog in the well imagination, but I try to think, what do I do at night if I have work all day? If I'm working all day, at night, I don't want to be disturbed by my work. At night, maybe I want to study, maybe I want to meditate, maybe I want to chant, and I do need a little rest. So maybe Brahmā, we have no idea what he's doing at his night, but he doesn't want to be disturbed by the business of the day. And the living entities in this universe, frankly, are a disturbance. At all times, they're breaking religious principles, they're acting like false proprietors, they're filled with envy, they're fighting and quarreling and lying. That's Brahma's helping to maintain all that. And he doesn't want to be disturbed at his nighttime. That's the only thing I've been able to come up with as to why we have to be annihilated during his night. So our crazy materialistic activities at least give him a break. He doesn't get disturbed by it. I don't remember reading what Brahma does at night, but I think it's so he doesn't become disturbed.
When
Hare Krishna.
When Krishna does something, he accomplishes everything through a single act. That's Krishna's mystic potency. Then he can do many things by one act. So my realization on this point is that nobody in this material world is free from material conditions, including Lord Brahmā. Just that the duration may change. Like, for example, we cannot avoid sleep. Sleep is necessary for us. So even Brahmā cannot avoid sleep because he's also subjected to material conditions. So unless one conquers over sleep, Godakesha, it's not possible. So even Brahmā needs his rest. All the living entities need their rest because it's not possible. So according to their, unless one is liberated, one is subjected to these. Of course, sleeping is the mode of ignorance. So everybody is subjected, including Lord Brahmā. So the Lord accomplishes it in a certain manner, but it is the need of each living entity to sleep. The duration may vary according to Brahmā needs such a long duration of sleep, but we may need lesser and things like that. But all the, like Prabhupada says, even if you go from the highest planet to the down to the lowest planet, the conditions of material existence are the same. Just that there may be some variations, but the conditions don't change. And only a liberated soul is beyond these conditions. Yes, ma'am.
In this regard, If a day of Brahma or a night of Brahma is 4,320,000,000 years,
Yeah.
if every one of those years we were a human
Yeah.
with a 100-year human lifespan,
Yeah.
right now I can't imagine if I live another 500 lives. I can't. It's beginning to stretch
Yeah.
my capacity to think.
Yeah.
If I live another 1,000 lives, well, if I was a human during one day of Brahma, that would be 40 million human lives of 100 years. But I'm not always human. Animals have much smaller lifetimes, so then instead of 40 million lives, it might be 80 million. So a whole day of Brahma, we've got 80 million lifetimes of doing nonsense in just his day, and he and the devas are managing the universe so we don't completely mess it up during our tens of millions and millions of lifetimes. And then we're annihilated, he gets a break. And then the next 40 to 80 million lifetimes begin during his next day. That's the math that I think of.
I mean, that's what I was saying, that Krishna coincides or whatever. He arranges such a way that Brahma gets his rest, living entities are not active, so everything is functional. I mean, whatever. He keeps everything in a, because that's a reality, because this is always explained, so obviously the living entities are not active. So from that we know that yes, this is how it is. Krishna has designed it like that. That Brahma is sleeping, all the living entities are not active, but why they're not active? Simply because of their own karma also. I mean, to be in the mode of ignorance and things like that. And one point which I was trying to, it's just slipping my mind. Pardon?
Just
Yeah.
these concepts of just one day or one night of Brahma are beyond our
Yeah.
ability to even imagine.
Correct. So, okay, now I got my point. Okay, the whole purpose of this whole description, if we keep that in mind, is that Prabhupada, I mean, you're well aware of this, Prabhupada repeatedly in his lectures and every place he says, this is a condemned place. Material world is a condemned place. So, sometimes the descriptions of the universe may fascinate some people. It's not, I mean, of course, wonderful and all this. It may create some fascination. So simultaneously, Prabhupada introduces that concept called, this is the, like here in this purport also, we have to get out of this place. He never, I mean, it's like inseparable. Prabhupada presents something, but he also presents, look, this is not something which is supposed to be attractive. This is supposed to be dangerous. This is supposed to be condemned. Let's get out of this. So he creates that simultaneous mood of presenting information and presenting the danger of getting fascinated by that information. I mean, fascinated in the sense that, okay, fascinated to get out of it, not fascinated to dabble with it.
I want to bring this math that I go through back
Okay.
to the best point that you made, I thought. We have every day of Brahma tens and tens and tens of millions of lifetimes. And then you said, how wondrous is it that with Srila Prabhupada's descent and his mercy, it can all end in just one human life.
Unbelievable.
That is the most astounding thing of all. And it's so, that makes it all so wondrous and makes us filled with infinite gratitude and infinite appreciation.
The greatest miracle, you know, like who can imagine a miracle greater than that? Okay, it's 9 o'clock, so we'll end here. Thank you very much. There were other questions though I could answer privately after class. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada.